It would be the equivalent of someone who goes exploring for seashells on the beach with a metal detector, and his metal detector tells him, well, there are no seashells. That's because seashells aren't metal.
Una de las objeciones más comunes actualmente para el cristianismo es de que el cristianismo contradice a la ciencia, ¿verdad? De que simplemente estas son cosas que no pueden convivir juntas y que de algún modo también la ciencia ha demostrado que el cristianismo no existe. Así que me surge la curiosidad de preguntarle justamente a un filósofo profesional qué tiene que decir al respecto.
So, this is a common myth that is prevailing today, that science and religion are in conflict. It was actually a myth that was created by two late 19th century polemicists, Andrew Dixon White and John William Draper. Both wrote books trying to say, the history of religion and science has always been one of warfare. It's exactly the reverse. Christianity was mainly responsible for the creation of the university in Europe. And the large bulk of the curriculum of the university were natural sciences, funded almost entirely by the church. So it not only wasn't at odds with science, it was really promoting science. Now, what has happened today that sort of fed into this myth is eventually what we might historically label as science, which is this quest for truth and knowledge about the physical world, became this methodology, where it was then this sort of narrow method, then only what survived the method of the sciences was considered legitimate study. So it would be the equivalent of someone who goes exploring for seashells on the beach with a metal detector. And his metal detector tells him, well, there are no seashells. That's because seashells aren't metal. They're made out of calcium carbonate. Your metal detector is not going to be able to pick up calcium carbonate. So the scientist comes along like a Richard Dawkins and says, well, these questions about God, which I, as a philosopher, would say are philosophical questions, whatever that means, the methods of philosophy. He says, oh, no, they're just scientific questions, things you settle in the laboratory or in just mere observation. I go, no, there are philosophical aspects of these questions, but your method of science now has in effect excluded the evidence for many things in Christianity, the most important of which being existence of God and the possibility of miracles. So it's at war now, but that's a recent phenomena, probably 20th century, as far as that really becoming, but it's the standard view. There's no reason why science and philosophy should be at odds, because they're just various aspects and ways of trying to acquire truth about reality. That reality includes God, His invasion into history through His prophets, and ultimately through the Lord Jesus. And that's part of human knowing too. The scientist tries to tell us it's got to fit his narrow standards. He's responsible. Well, why should I think that? Because as a philosopher, your claim, only science can tell us truth about reality, is itself a philosophical statement, not a scientific statement. He can't prove the very basis of his own, what is called scientism. So as a philosopher, I'd go, no, we need to back up and realize some of these questions are philosophical in nature.